Hey everyone, ready to dive into some seriously big questions.
I know I am.
Today, we're tackling eternity,
Oh, wow.
destiny, good versus evil,
Yeah.
all that good stuff.
Cute.
But from a unique spiritual perspective,
I love it.
we're going deep on the ideas of Milton Alonso,
Okay.
who said our journey, it didn't begin with our first breath in this world, but long, long before.
It's true.
So buckle up, get ready to stretch those brain muscles, because we are on a quest to unlock eternity today.
That's right.
And we couldn't do it without you.
We are going beyond, I think, surface level theology today.
Yeah.
We're exploring how ancient scripture, spiritual principles might offer a new lens, for understanding our place in this whole grand scheme of things.
Absolutely. And, I have to admit, one of the things that has always intrigued me
Yeah.
about Alonso's work is this idea of a family in heaven.
Right.
This concept of a pre-material existence where our spirits were part of this
It's fascinating.
amazing
Yeah.
celestial family.
So when you think about pre-Earth existence, I mean, was it just, was it harps and fluffy clouds? What was
Yeah.
that like?
Right. Like what was going on back then?
Yeah.
So what does Alonso say about this pre-Earth existence?
Well, I think Alonso, he suggests that this pre-Earth existence was a state of just pure connection to the divine,
Okay.
a state of being that we might find hard to grasp,
Mhm.
from our current perspective, right?
Yeah.
Like we have these human brains and they're like, we're trying to understand something that is,
So far beyond current understanding.
Exactly. And he points to, stories like Adam and Eve, right? Lucifer,
Okay.
even the archangels.
Yep.
He's suggesting that these aren't just Sunday school tales that we're hearing,
Right.
but these are symbolic representations of this pre-Earth reality.
Okay, so you're saying these biblical figures were real beings, like living it up in a celestial dimension.
It's not so much about them being physically real in the way that we understand it now, but they're symbolic, right? They're symbolic representations of these spiritual truths.
Interesting.
Think about it this way. Our ancestors used myths and stories to try to explain, like, the world around them, right?
Right.
Alonso's suggesting that the Bible, while containing historical elements,
Okay.
is also using the symbolic language to convey deeper spiritual truths about where we come from.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like those ancient Greek myths,
Exactly.
full of gods and monsters, right?
Right.
But also reflecting universal human experiences and
Yeah.
struggles.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay,
It's a common language.
if we existed in this blissful state,
Yeah.
this pre-Earth existence, this family in heaven,
Yeah.
what happened? Like, was there some kind of cosmic eviction notice from this heavenly family reunion?
Right.
Like, what went down?
What happened? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's where the concept of the fall comes in,
Okay.
but not in the way that we might typically think about it, right?
Okay.
Like, Alonso argues that the story of Adam and Eve,
Uh-huh.
it isn't just about them disobeying God in a garden,
Right.
right? He suggests it's a symbolic representation of a cosmic event, right?
Okay.
A separation from that divine oneness that impacted all spirits, right?
Right.
It marked a shift in consciousness from a state of unity to one of duality.
Okay. Whoa.
Yeah,
This is already blowing my mind wide open.
it's a big one.
So are you saying we weren't just chilling in a blissful utopia, but something major went down?
Yeah,
And we've carried that separation within us ever since?
that's the core idea
Wow.
that Alonso's proposing.
Okay.
He argues that this fall from grace,
Right.
this separation from the divine,
Yeah.
it's something we still grapple with today,
We
right?
do.
It's in our DNA almost.
It's in our DNA.
And it raises a pretty big question. If our spirits existed before this physical life, right? Before we were even born into these bodies,
Yeah.
what traces of that pre-Earth existence might we still carry within us?
That's a fascinating question. Do we have any, clues from Alonso's work about what those traces might be?
Yeah.
Could this pre-Earth existence actually be impacting our lives right now?
That's a question that leads us directly to one of Alonso's, I think, most challenging ideas, and that's predestination.
Predestination. Okay, now we're getting into some serious theological territory.
It's a big one.
It's like the ultimate cosmic lottery. Like your ticket's already punched before you even arrive.
That's kind of the common understanding of it, yeah. But Alonso sees it a bit differently.
Okay.
He argues that God, knowing our spirits in that pre-material realm, right,
Yeah.
has a unique purpose for each of us,
Okay.
a path tailored for our spiritual growth.
So it's less about a predetermined fate and more about a divine blueprint designed specifically for us. Huh. That actually takes some of the pressure off, doesn't it?
Right. Because it's not arbitrary, right?
Right.
It's designed for us, for our growth.
But how does that square with free will? It seems like if we're already on this preset path,
Right.
what difference do our choices really make?
It's a great question. It's the paradox, right?
Yeah.
And Alonso tackles it head on. I mean, he uses the example of Jacob and Esau from the Bible.
Right.
Twins who were seemingly preordained for different destinies even before birth.
Yeah, totally different paths.
Right. But Alonso's suggesting that it wasn't about good versus bad.
Okay.
It was about the unique lessons their souls needed to learn,
Interesting.
you know? So he's suggesting maybe free will isn't about choosing our destination, but it's about navigating the journey, right?
Okay.
Learning and growing along the way.
So even if there's a predestined route, we still get to choose how we travel it.
Yes,
Scenic road or the express lane, right.
exactly.
But if that's the case, how do we even begin to understand this divine blueprint? It's not like we get handed a celestial GPS at birth.
Right, no.
So how do we tap into that?
Well, this is where I think it gets really, really interesting.
Okay.
Alonso argues that we need to develop what he calls spiritual senses.
Spiritual senses.
To kind of decipher this divine plan, right?
Mhm.
He suggests that we often get bogged down in literal interpretations of Scripture,
Right.
which can kind of block us from accessing these deeper truths.
Interesting.
He uses this phrase, calling things that are not as though they are, suggesting that we need to align our beliefs with God's eternal reality, even if our current reality doesn't reflect it yet.
Calling things that are not as though they are.
Yeah,
Honestly, that sounds a bit like wishful thinking to me.
I can see that.
Can you give me a real-world example of how this works?
Sure. So imagine you're facing a really difficult situation, right? Like, let's say you're dealing with a health challenge.
Right.
Right. Instead of focusing on the fear and the uncertainty, you choose to believe in your healing, even before you see physical evidence.
Okay.
You start visualizing yourself as healthy and whole, acting as if healing is already happening on a deeper level.
So it's about consciously choosing faith over fear, even when the going gets tough.
Yes, exactly. It's not about denying the reality of the situation,
Well,
right? But it's about shifting your perspective. Got it. Okay.
To align with a greater possibility.
So how does this tie back to that pre-Earth existence we talked about earlier?
That's where the connection to our spiritual origins comes in.
Okay.
Alonso argues that this ability to call things that are not
Yeah.
is actually rooted in our pre-Earth connection to the divine.
Okay.
In that state of unity, there was no separation between thought and manifestation,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
We've carried this power within us, even after the fall.
So we have this incredible power within, but we've kind of forgotten how to use it.
It's like we lost the user manual to our own spiritual operating system.
Oh, I love that. That's a great analogy.
Right.
Yeah, we've got the hardware, but we need the software update.
Exactly. And according to Alonso, Christ's sacrifice is key to recovering that lost connection. Okay, so you're saying that Christ's sacrifice, this event that happened thousands of years ago, has some bearing on this pre-Earth existence that happened even further back in time. I'm not following.
It's about understanding that our perception of time is limited, right?
Okay.
From an eternal perspective, the past, present, and future, it's all intertwined.
Okay.
Think of it like a tapestry, right?
Okay.
We see only the front with its intricate design,
Right.
but the threads that create the image, they run through the entire fabric,
Oh,
connecting every part.
I see what you're saying.
Right. So Christ's sacrifice isn't limited by linear time.
Okay.
It's an eternal act that bridges that gap between our pre-Earth existence, our current lives, and our eternal future.
So you're saying that Christ's sacrifice wasn't just a historical event, but almost a cosmic reset button,
That's one way to put it, yeah.
healing that separation that happened way back in our spiritual prehistory.
Exactly. And it suggests that our journey isn't just about navigating the ups and downs of this life.
Right.
It's about rediscovering our place in a much grander, eternal story.
That is a mind-blowing concept.
It is. It's a big one.
I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together. But how do we actually access this second grace? Does Alonso give us any clues about how to bridge that gap between our limited perception and this eternal truth?
That's where Alonso's concept of seeing beyond the veil comes in.
Seeing beyond the veil.
He uses this metaphor of a mirror.
Okay.
We see our reflection, our physical selves, but he argues there's a deeper reality beyond that reflection.
Wait, so are you saying we're all walking around with these incredible eternal cells hidden beneath the surface, like spiritual superheroes just waiting to bust out.
Exactly. But we're often so caught up in the physical world, in our
Yeah.
daily grind, that we miss the signs,
Yeah.
the whispers of this greater reality.
A whisper.
Alonzo challenges us to kind of shift our focus from the material to the spiritual, to start seeing with the eyes of faith.
Okay, seeing with the eyes of faith. Now that sounds a little esoteric even for me. Can you give me a concrete example of what that actually looks like in everyday life? Okay,
Mhm.
seeing with the eyes of faith, that's a powerful image, but what does that actually look like in practice? Are we talking about like some kind of mystical vision quest
No,
here?
no, no, no. It's not about suddenly developing X-ray vision or anything like that.
Okay.
Think of it more like fine-tuning a sense you already have.
Okay.
Like, for example, have you ever had like a gut feeling about something?
Sure.
A deep inner knowing that turned out to be right?
Yeah.
That's a glimpse
Okay.
of what it means to kind of see beyond the surface.
So trusting your intuition, those flashes of insight,
Yeah.
those are all clues to this deeper reality Alonzo's talking about.
Exactly. It's about paying attention to those subtle whispers,
Okay.
those synchronicities that we often dismiss as coincidence, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's about looking for the patterns in our lives, like the challenges we face,
Okay.
the relationships we attract.
Yeah.
Asking ourselves, like, what if these are all guiding me toward my true purpose?
So instead of just reacting to life's curveballs, we need to start looking for the message hidden within the mess.
Yes, exactly.
But how do we know we're interpreting those messages correctly? It seems awfully easy to just kind of project our own desires onto the situation and call it divine guidance.
Right. That's where discernment comes in, you know.
Okay.
Alonzo would say that aligning ourselves with Christ's teachings
Okay.
is crucial for developing this spiritual discernment.
Yep.
He sees Christ's life as the ultimate example of how to live in harmony with this divine plan.
So it's not just about deciphering some cryptic cosmic code, but about embodying Christ-like qualities, love, compassion, forgiveness
Yes.
in our everyday lives.
Yes, in our everyday lives.
Those become our compass, our guideposts.
Precisely. It's about letting those qualities inform our choices, our actions, our interactions with the world. As we do that, we begin to live not just as physical beings bound by limitations, but as expressions of our eternal spiritual selves.
Yeah. It's like Alonzo is inviting us to participate in our own spiritual evolution, to become co-creators with the divine.
Exactly.
This
Yeah.
entire concept of eternity existing alongside our everyday lives, it's incredibly profound.
It is.
It really makes you think.
It does.
It challenges everything we think we know about ourselves and our place in the universe.
And that's the beauty of Alonzo's work, you know?
Yeah.
He doesn't offer these easy answers or a one-size-fits-all approach.
Right.
He encourages us to ask the big questions, to challenge our assumptions,
Right.
to consider the possibility that there's more to our existence than meets the eye.
Absolutely. It's like he's handing us a map to this hidden world that's always been there,
Right.
waiting to be discovered.
Yes, and it's within us.
A world where time bends, possibilities expand, and we're invited to step into the fullness of who we truly are.
That's it. That's it.
It's a lot to take in, but incredibly inspiring.
It is. And you know what? Perhaps the most exciting part of all of this
What's that?
is that this journey of unlocking eternity, it doesn't require us to travel to some far-off monastery or achieve some superhuman feat.
Okay.
It starts right here,
Right.
right now, with the willingness to look beyond the veil of our everyday experiences.
Okay.
Listen to the whispers of our eternal selves.
What if those whispers are closer than we realize? What if that feeling of deja vu, that unexplainable connection to a stranger, that deep longing for something more, what if those are all echoes of that pre-Earth existence, calling us back to that place of unity, that family in heaven we talked about?
That's a powerful question to sit with, and ultimately, it's a question only you can answer. As we wrap up our deep dive into Alonzo's ideas, I encourage you to keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep listening to those whispers. You might be surprised by what you discover.